Programming really quick to bring you an update on the state takeover at Fort Worth ISD. We have an update right now after Dr. Peter Licata took over as superintendent. So we are bringing you an update right now as that unfolds. He is actually doing a press conference right now. He is the newly appointed superintendent, and a newly appointed board took over the district back in March. Dr. Licata is now giving an update after the district wrapped up its first week of school. Take a listen.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Great week, long week, excellent week to get started. We had a really good week. Not everything was perfect. We know that. With 100+ campuses, you know things are going to go wrong. Like today, we had a whole power outage in a community, and you have 2,000 students on the campus. But we were able to work through it. What we were able to handle are things we could prepare for. I got a stat this morning that said 2% of our buses this week were arriving after the school bell. And you know, I've been harping on the idea if a child is late to school, they're already missing instruction. Only 2% of those routes arrive to school after the bell, which is incredible. Those are the things we can control. We visited this school last year. First week we were here. It looks different. It looks 180 degrees different. It's incredible. Principal here was just outstanding. That's why we kept her here. She had just arrived. And now we're looking at her supporting her staff. The teachers here, everyone I spoke to are very excited. There's a buzz in the air. You saw the process and the systems that are in place with students walking, classroom teaching, teaching going on a Friday afternoon after a long week on the first week of school. This is when we have our chance to teach children. We don't get them on the weekends. We don't get them at night. When they're here, we have to teach them. I know it sounds harsh, but it's the reality. Understands it. Usually we started the year with 200+ substitutes in classrooms. You know that we've been talking about that. We had 0 vacancies, and if they were a vacancy, it's because it popped up because a lot of kids arrived at the school. From what I understand and to know, we had no substitutes, or if we did, they were probably a handful. That's important so we can start teaching the very first day. A couple other great facts that happened this week, and it wasn't planned. We had a couple folks at the board meeting, a couple emails that we received, and a couple questions and things that were happening in the community and schools that we were not anticipating. A couple schools were expecting this, and they got that. I visited those schools with the executive team, the cabinet members, and we made changes on the fly to make sure that what the community was promised was delivered before we arrived. That's called listening. That's called understanding. We're not going to waver about how we teach children. That's not a negotiation piece. But what is making sure that the culture of what we're doing fits the schools, and that's why a lot of the decisions are local to the principals on things that we aren't imparting that is a must. We are not going to negotiate the educational model and the instructional practice, but we will listen. We have no problem with that. If you notice, there was teaching going on. That's our priority. It started the first 5 minutes of the first day. That's a change. But in order to change what we've done today or done in the past, is we have to change the system. We had a nice little bump this year, and the grades came out today, and we're very excited by it. We got, I think, additional 2 extra A schools that I visited today and congratulated the principals. We had a bunch of schools bump up. A lot of schools that were struggling move up a little bit, a lot of it in growth. You know that we're district, we shoot for achievement and proficiency, which is where it's at, but we have to celebrate the victories. I spoke with the previous superintendent this morning via text multiple times and congratulated her, but this is a team effort as well. And we look to keep riding that wave, but go more towards an achievement now, because the scoring system for the state is about achievement and growth. That's exciting. On the downside, you know, we did have a school that got its 5th F in a row, which would have initiated the state takeover, but we're already here. We're going to make sure we focus on that campus and all the other campuses that are in this Elevate model. It is not fair that the neighborhood has to come to a school that they see as failing. That is not acceptable. That is not acceptable, and that's where we should be really putting our money at, and that's what we did. I spoke to teachers around the school today. Loves the school. I don't want to leave off that fact that we did have some growth. That is good. Academic growth. We're riding a good wave. The district is still a C. We maintain the C. We bumped up a little bit in the C category in points, but it's our goal to be at least a B next year, if not an A. Eradicate any D and F schools. That's our goal. You know, over the summer, I set 0 vacancies as a goal. We got it. We set 0 DNF schools and we get it, then we've achieved our goal. If I set it any different and we achieve it, we still underachieved. So we got to set it high. I have a lot of good academic supports. We've poured a lot of extra resources and support in here. And as you saw when you walked through, you saw actual coaching in the moment. It wasn't scary. It wasn't yelling. It was leaning in and mentioning something. We do that with everybody. The greatest athletes in the world, the coaches lean in their ears and talk. So it's about making sure that we're doing everything we can for our students in the moment, not waiting a day or two to talk to folks. Finally, I want to make sure that everyone understands that we are 1 week in. We've seen some significant progress already. We do have some adjustments. Not everything is rainbows and unicorns. But we're dealing with 116, 118 campuses. We're
Yeah, but one of the good things that we have now is this in the Elevate model. So as an Elevate network school, there's not a variation in terms of instructional quality, in terms of systems and supports. What you saw here, they also have. They have the transitions very similar. They have the instructional model is the same. They have resident teachers, they have learning facilitators, they have support in the classrooms. They're using the same strategies. You'll see the same setup in those classrooms and the same supplies. So we have some uniformity in terms of really attain the objective for the day or that class period. In Elevate, our whole structure is designed to give every student the opportunity to focus and earn that autonomy of going to the mastery lab. And so the way they do that is that we have teaching and learning, and we do that by focusing on what we're doing in that classroom. And our students, they perform exceptionally well. If you see the DOLs, all of our classrooms have electronic devices where they'll take the DOL, that demonstration of learning. They get to see their performance. I will say the first week in Fort Worth ISD, our mastery labs are overflowing. In several of our schools, including William James, we've had to create overflow rooms. So the initial room is set up, it fills 40 to 50 kids, and then we need an overflow room. That has not happened in a long time. But what students are seeing is that they can obtain that mastery level, and each and every day they work to get it. Different schools may have an incentive. You know, at elementary, they may tell them you get extra this, extra that for being in there every day. Well, that's just unique to the principal. But the model ensures that they see success every day. If you also, when you were in the classroom, you saw the large ViewSonic board, which allows every student in that room to see. And it's not a small thing, because every board is not the same. We were in some traditional schools today, and we're thinking, wow, we need more ViewSonics, because it had a glare, it was dim in some places. But in Elevate schools, Fort Worth ISD has made the investment to ensure that every single student in that classroom can see the objective and see what the challenge is for the day.
I want to expound on that mastery lab. That means the students are getting the standards at a lot faster rate than we expected. This is good. This is good. And we're assessing kids. We're not testing them. We're just assessing them each day. And we're tracking this on a computer. We're tracking it at district offices, regional offices, and we're seeing these assessments and how they're moving about and how they're moving through. There is no way you get better unless you look at data every single day. And we're looking at that. So instead of this long study for a test feeling of anxiety and stress, what they're doing is they're being assessed and they don't even know it, because we're just asking them questions and getting the feedback immediately and putting it electronically so we can see the data. This is a new wrinkle. Also, if a child has a situation where they need to step out of the class and we need to bring them out of the class, the old school way is put them in a dean's office or put them in an office to where they're not getting any type of service. We do not believe in that model. If we move them out of the classroom, they are in a place where they're actually getting the electronic vision and getting to see it, much like we did during the COVID years, but they're actually still in part of the lesson. We're not letting them sit in an office and wait for someone to see them. More importantly, we rarely will pull them out only in an important and really tough situation. We believe in counseling them in the hallway. You'll see a lot more administrators in the hallway in the Elevate models. We believe in counseling them, working through what they did, figuring out what it was, not disciplining them, getting them back into the classroom right away, supporting the teacher, but also making sure that the kid has an opportunity to go back in the class and get the education they deserve. Because if they're not in the classroom, it's very difficult to teach them.
One more question. Can you talk about the schools? I mean, we had schools that improved quite a bit.
Yeah.
Diamond Hill went from a D to an A, which
Yes.
was really impressive.
Really impressive.
We also had some schools go from C's down to F. So, I mean, what is kind of different there? And how was Diamond Hill able to make such strides and others not?
I thank you for that question, and that was all on growth. which is great. We got kids moving up more than a year's growth, which is great. And that's why they were able to move so fast. Credit to that school. Phenomenal job. Maintaining that A is going to be so hard because they can't use growth next year. They got to use the first bucket of achievement. So we know what that is, and we know we have some significant movement to go there. And you know what? I trust that staff because they are on a roll, and they deserve every bit of credit. It is phenomenal. Now, the ones that dropped, know what that is, and we know we have some significant movement to go there. And you know what? I trust that staff because they are on a roll, and they deserve every bit of credit. It is phenomenal. Now, the ones that dropped, and more did this way than they went that way. We know that, and that's just a great thing because it's not like that in every district. What we look at is the systems weren't across the board in the district. And I know we've had some pushback about, every school isn't the same, but when you don't have systems that are consistent across the district, that's what happens. You have a real good staff with a real good leader, does really well, and then you have some mixed messages on other campuses, and everyone's doing something that they think is best, and it doesn't work that way. I get it. We got to make sure we are teaching to the standard, but if that process isn't over here, it'll drop. So our job is to make sure everything stays consistent. There's a simple process, and as we get through this, it'll be a system where they do themselves, where we're not having to really embark on it. And with all that training, we're expecting some great things, and I think it'll be a system where they do themselves, where we're not having to really embark on it. And with all that training, we're expecting some great things, and I think we're ahead of the game already by hearing these mastery labs are full. That excites me. That's good stuff.
Okay, you all raise your hands. I'll start with the start, please.
Dr. Licata, you mentioned earlier in your speech that you have had the opportunity to speak with some parents who addressed some concerns with you. Are you at liberty to discuss what those concerns were?
Well, I think the big one is the school that would merged before we arrived here and merged with Bonnie Bray in Riverside, and the parents were, when they merged and closed one school, they weren't aware that they were thinking that they were going to be school within a school, and when we came in, it wasn't that way. We didn't feel that way. We didn't see it that way. And then after a few parents who we highly respect, PTA mom, I hope she's not mad at me, talk to us, and when a parent has the best interest of everything and doesn't have an agenda that's non-student related, and you know what I'm saying here, you listen. And she walked up to me after the board meeting and said, I want to invite you to Bonnie Bray tomorrow. I said, you don't need to invite me. I'll be there. And our team came there, and the regional chief figured it out like that, presented it to teachers. Teachers love it. We're back to normal. We announced it, and we're back to what was promised to that community. That's our job, too. It's to listen. Now, again, we are the professionals on instruction. We're not going to negotiate that. But we do understand there are other idiosyncrasies that occur in every school that's unique. So we will listen.
I'm at the Dallas Morning News. I've heard a lot of complaints about scheduling issues and really crowded classrooms, particularly kids in some high school classrooms. Are you all doing anything to address that? Have you heard those complaints?
Yeah, so there are some things you can prepare for, and some things you just, it's going to happen, or you don't know it's going to happen. First week of school, when you have a school that bumps up 200 children, you have not enough teachers on the campus. And then there are other schools that had too many teachers because they dropped 100 students. That's called leveling. That'll happen at the end of next week. We're trying to reduce that. I did approve some other new teacher positions in these schools that have grown, which is great. But remember, when we level, we're going to obviously have to take some teachers from schools that dropped a lot. There are migration patterns in the entire country from the urban environment to the suburban environment. It's happening to every big city. We just have to adjust, and we will adjust. It's a hard process, but we can't have too many teachers in one school and not enough and expect the same results. We have to be balanced. We still have a duty to the taxpayer to make sure we're spending money the best way we can.
Okay, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Great question, Dallas.
Thank you. You got to be up by next 10 minutes.
Yeah, you do not want